That chocolate bar in your pantry, the one you give your kids, break into cookies or melt into brownies because the label says real chocolate. It may not be as real as you think. Think about that for a second. Chocolate is one of the most emotionally trusted foods in America. But behind those bright wrappers lies a multi-billion-dollar grocery industry secret. The word chocolate hides a massive range: real cocoa butter, cocoa solids, milk chocolate, compound chocolate, palm oil, artificial flavors, and sugar-heavy candy. Products that feel premium but rely on industrial shortcuts. We investigated 10 US chocolate brands and products that millions of families buy every single week. 7 of them raise significant red flags. Only 3 actually deserve a place in your grocery cart. But stay with us, because the best pick is not the one most people expect. The safest picks are not always the most expensive, and the results of this label investigation will change the way you shop forever. Before we pull back the wrappers, you need to know how we evaluated these brands. This is not medical advice. This is a rigorous label and product claim investigation. We looked at cocoa content and cocoa source transparency. We checked whether cocoa butter is used or replaced with cheap vegetable oils and palm oil. We looked at the sugar position on the ingredient list. We scanned for artificial flavors and chemical emulsifiers. We exposed the chocolatey or flavored coating language used on the packaging. We compared price versus ingredient quality and brand trust versus actual label proof. Finally, we checked for organic or fair trade certifications. We went to Walmart, Target, Kroger, Whole Foods, and Amazon. What we found is that many of the most recognizable names in the baking and candy aisles are selling a pure illusion. Number 1. Hershey's milk chocolate. The candy aisle illusion. It is the definitive taste of American childhood. The silver letters on the brown wrapper represent over a century of deep-seated consumer trust. But look closely at the ingredient list on a standard Hershey's milk chocolate bar. The nostalgia trap begins to show. The very first ingredient is not cocoa mass or cocoa butter. It is sugar. In mass market formulas like this, sugar is doing the heavy lifting. The actual cocoa content is low, and the flavor profile is sweet and mass-produced. Many shoppers assume that because a brand has been around for generations, its primary ingredient must be the premium substance we associate with real chocolate. But nostalgia can make people stop reading the label. That feeling is the product. The iconic bar remains a childhood staple, but the label suggests it is built more around sugar and mass market efficiency than pure cocoa. Number 2. Palmer chocolate. The holiday basket problem. Every Easter and Christmas, supermarket aisles fill up with foil-wrapped chocolate bunnies and Santas. Kids love them. Parents buy them in bulk because the price is incredibly low. But this is where the concern begins. Turn over a Palmer seasonal figure. You will rarely see the word chocolate standing alone. Instead, the label relies on phrases like chocolatey double crisp or chocolatey smooth. This is not an accident. It is a legal requirement. Because many of these products rely on cheap hydrogenated vegetable oils and palm kernel oil instead of real cocoa butter, they cannot legally be called milk chocolate. They are compound coatings designed to look like chocolate and survive room temperatures without melting. The waxy texture and sugary taste are the immediate trade-offs for that low price point. Real chocolate costs more to make. Something has to explain the price. When a holiday figure costs $1, the ingredient list is where they save the money. Number 3. Great value chocolate chips. The budget baking shortcut. Walmart's store brand is a lifesaver for families trying to bake on a budget. When you are making 3 dozen cookies for a school bake sale, paying a fraction of the name brand price feels like a victory. The package sits in the baking aisle right next to the premium brands, looking almost identical. But budget baking comes with distinct trade-offs. The ingredient list reveals a heavy reliance on sugar as the primary ingredient, along with soy lecithin and artificial flavorings to mimic the depth of real cocoa. In many products at this price point, cocoa butter is kept to the absolute minimum necessary to hold the chip together. Families assume that baking chips are automatically real chocolate, but the back of the bag reveals a formula engineered for low-cost production. If you are still watching, subscribe right now. Every week, we pull back another label to show you what is actually going into your cart. You deserve to know what you are feeding your family. Number 4. Nestlé Toll House Morsels. The Cookie Memory Shield. This is the brand that practically invented the chocolate chip cookie in the American imagination. The yellow bag is an emotional shield. It evokes warm kitchens, grandmother's recipes, and Sunday afternoons. Because of this powerful emotional connection, shoppers rarely compare the ingredient lists between semi-sweet, milk chocolate, and flavored morsels. But when you look at the standard semi-sweet morsels, sugar is still the leading ingredient. While Nestlé does use real cocoa butter and chocolate, the mass market scale of the product means the cocoa percentage is kept relatively modest to keep costs down and appeal to the widest possible palate. The premium image of the homemade cookie does not mean you are getting a high cocoa, low sugar product. The front sells trust. The back reveals the trade-off. It is a reliable baking standard, but it is still heavily reliant on sugar to deliver the flavor we associate with homemade memories. Number 5. Russell Stover Assorted Chocolates. The gift box illusion. It is the classic American gift. You buy it for Valentine's Day, Mother's Day, or a holiday host. The copper box looks elegant, and the assortment grid inside feels like a luxurious experience. But look closely at the ingredient list on the back of that premium-looking box. You will often find a long, complicated paragraph filled with corn syrup, palm oil, hydrogenated vegetable oils, artificial flavors, and preservatives. The actual chocolate coating on these assorted pieces is often very thin, and the fillings rely heavily on high fructose corn syrup and cheap fats to create the sensation of variety. That feeling of luxury is the product, not the chocolate itself. The gift packaging is doing the heavy lifting, while the ingredients inside tell a much more industrial story. It is a time-honored gift, but the label suggests the focus is more on shelf life and sweetness than cocoa purity. Number 6. Dove Chocolate. The smoothness trick. Dove is marketed as a silky, luxurious escape. The promises of silky smooth texture and the little promises written on the inside of the foil wrappers suggest a premium indulgence. It is priced higher than standard candy bars, positioning itself as a step up in quality. But smoothness does not automatically equal higher cocoa quality. The silky mouthfeel in Dove is achieved through specific fat structure and high milk and sugar content, rather than an exceptionally high concentration of pure cocoa solids. When you read the ingredient list, sugar remains the undisputed first ingredient. While it does contain real cocoa butter, the overall formula still behaves like a standard mass-market milk chocolate, relying on dairy fat and sugar to carry the texture. The marketing sells a premium experience, but the ingredient list reveals a familiar mass-market structure. The label is doing the heavy lifting. Number 7. Ghirardelli Chocolate Squares. The premium grocery shelf question. Ghirardelli sits at the top of the standard grocery aisle. The San Francisco heritage, the elegant square shape, and the dark chocolate varieties give it a serious, sophisticated aura. It performs better than cheap candy, and many of their dark chocolate bars do feature higher cocoa percentages and simpler ingredient lists. But you still need to inspect each variety carefully. The moment you move away from their plain high-percentage dark chocolate and reach for the filled squares like caramel mint or milk chocolate varieties, the sugar levels spike, and vegetable oils, corn syrup, and artificial flavors frequently find their way into the fillings. The brand name alone is not a guarantee of a clean label across their entire product line. Even on the premium shelf, the front of the package sells the memory, while the back reveals the formulation changes. Now, before we reveal the 3 better picks, you need to understand the system. The U.S. grocery system is built on a language of compromise. To understand what you are actually buying, you have to decode the names on the front of the packaging. Real chocolate is a precise mixture of cocoa solids and cocoa butter. Milk chocolate must contain at least 10% chocolate liquor and a significant amount of milk solids, but it is often dominated by sugar. Dark chocolate has a higher concentration of cocoa solids and less sugar, but it is still subject to wide quality variations. The real trouble begins when you see terms like compound chocolate, chocolate-flavored candy, or chocolatey coating. These are legal warnings. Cocoa butter is highly valued and expensive. Palm oil, coconut oil, and hydrogenated vegetable oils are cheap and stable at room temperature. The cheaper the product, the more the brand may rely on the feeling of chocolate rather than the substance of chocolate. They use artificial flavorings to mimic the aroma, and hydrogenated fats to mimic the melt-in-your-mouth texture. The front of the package sells the memory. The back of the package tells the truth. Real chocolate costs more to make. Something has to explain the price. If a product is cheap and shelf-stable for years, it is because cocoa butter has been quietly substituted for something else. If you want to keep reclaiming your grocery cart from these corporate tricks, hit the subscribe button right now. We are breaking down the truth behind everyday grocery items every single week. 3 more brands are coming up, and they show that real quality is still out there if you know what to look for. Number 8. Lindt Excellence Dark Chocolate. The simple dark chocolate standard. If you are looking for a reliable, widely available dark chocolate that respects the classic definition of the craft, Lindt Excellence is a strong starting point. While their milk chocolate and filled truffles contain higher sugar and vegetable fats, their high-percentage dark chocolate bars, like the 70%, 85%, and 90% cocoa versions, offer a much clearer dark chocolate identity. The ingredient list on these specific bars is remarkably short: chocolate, cocoa butter, cocoa powder, sugar, and raw cane sugar. There are no vegetable oil substitutes, no cheap palm oil fillers, and the sugar position is pushed far down the list. It is a mass-market bar that still honors the traditional structure of real chocolate. However, always check the exact bar you are buying, as flavored or lower percentage versions will introduce more sugar and additives. Number 9. Alter Eco Chocolate, the sourcing transparency leader. For shoppers who want their chocolate to represent clean ingredients and ethical practices, Alter Eco is a standout, better pick. This brand focuses heavily on organic, fair trade ingredients and complete sourcing transparency. When you read an Alter Eco label, you are not met with mysterious vegetable oil blends or artificial flavorings. They rely on pure organic cocoa butter, organic cocoa beans, and raw cane sugar. Their sourcing story is transparent, showing exactly where the beans were harvested and how the farmers were compensated. By avoiding cheap fillers and emulsifiers like soy lecithin, they deliver a product that satisfies the real chocolate standard while protecting the environment and the supply chain. It is a premium product, and the price reflects the quality of the ingredients and the integrity of the process. Number 10. Hu Chocolate, the clean ingredient expectation. Hu Chocolate has become a favorite among health-conscious buyers and people looking for a simple, minimalist ingredient list. Their tagline is "Get Back to Human," and their formulation reflects that philosophy. In many of their standard dark chocolate bars, you will find only 3 or 4 ingredients: organic cacao, organic coconut sugar, and organic cocoa butter. They completely avoid cane sugar, palm oil, soy lecithin, emulsifiers, and dairy. It is a clean ingredient expectation realized. However, a word of caution for health-conscious shoppers: while the label is exceptionally clean and avoids unnecessary fillers, cleaner does not mean unlimited or automatically healthy. It is still a calorie-dense food that contains fats and sugars, albeit from higher quality sources. Hu represents a significant step up in label transparency, but it should still be enjoyed mindfully. You do not need to memorize every brand in the supermarket to protect your family. You just need to know how to run a simple home label test during your next grocery run. The next time you are standing in the baking or candy aisle, do not let the front of the packaging make the decision for you. Turn the package around. Look at the very first ingredient. If sugar is listed first, that product is engineered primarily for sweetness, not chocolate depth. Next, look for cocoa butter. Real chocolate requires cocoa butter to achieve its natural texture and melting point. If you see palm oil, vegetable oil, or palm kernel oil, you are holding a compound coating, not real chocolate. Watch out for legal loopholes. If the box says chocolatey, chocolate flavored, made with chocolate, or coating, the brand is telling you that the product does not meet the legal definition of real chocolate. Finally, compare the price to the cocoa content. Real cocoa beans and cocoa butter are expensive commodities. If a large bag of chocolate chips or a massive holiday figure costs less than a cup of coffee, the math is telling you that shortcuts were taken. Choose simpler labels with fewer ingredients whenever possible. 1 minute with the back label can tell you more than 10 years of brand loyalty. We investigated 10 US chocolate brands. 7 of them proved how easily the word chocolate can be stretched, relying on sugar, vegetable fats, waxy textures, and nostalgic memories to fill their packages. 3 of them offered a better path forward, prioritizing cocoa butter, clean ingredients, and sourcing transparency. Before you buy the cheapest bag in the baking aisle, the prettiest gift box on Mother's Day, or the most nostalgic candy bar at the checkout lane, read the label. Your body is not a place to dump cheap corporate fillers. Choose real ingredients, support transparent brands, and take control of what goes into your pantry. Subscribe to ShelfProof so you never get caught by a label again. We expose the supermarket tricks every single week. Drop a comment below and tell us which chocolate brand is sitting in your pantry right now. Stay sharp, stay healthy, and keep rising.